We've tried to warn you guys. You've even had a head start. You cannot say you weren't given enough warning, because I tell you, this is what a proper number 10 looks and feels like. Welcome back to the City Ramble. If you are new around here, please make sure to hit the subscribe button. We're looking to get to 10k subscribers as quick as we can. Make sure you are part of that journey. As well, you can get involved in the City Ramble Discord. The link to that is in the description. Basically, a big Man City group chat. If you're on Discord, you know what it'll be about. If you're not on Discord, get on Discord, because you can come and chat to all of us in the Discord channel. Cool. Rayan Cherki. When I say I was on my feet, quite literally applauding him after that performance against Swansea, because it was the perfect tonic to what Manchester City needed right now. Obviously, the Villa game was poor. It wasn't great. Performance-wise, not good. Bad day at the office all around. But in terms of the spark that City have been missing in attack, it was this guy to deliver it at the right time. And it really, I felt, gave City fans a proper glimpse as to what Rayan Cherki is about. If you haven't been watching him, and look, that's fair enough. I appreciate League One isn't exactly the most attractive league. But eyes have been on this guy for a good few years now. I myself stuck a tweet out, I think it was 2023, when City were... I think they're in the market for a winger. It would have been the summer that City brought in Doku. I said, if City are looking for a winger, go out and get Rayan Cherki. Obviously, to be fair, at the time, probably needed an extra year or two of development, which he's got. Frustrating that he got an injury so early on in his City career. But since then, we saw a cameo against Everton. We saw a cameo against Villarreal, I want to say. Looked sharp enough against Villa. Aston Villa obviously didn't necessarily perform as good as he did do in the previous two cameos. But he got his first start since August, and boy, did that man deliver. I want to talk about what I found personally so impressive about his performance against Swansea, because I thought it was the archetypal Cherki performance, in the sense that when he's playing number 10, and at the end of this video we might speak about sort of where he fits in City's lineup right now, and that might look a little bit different than it did against Swansea, but I think it showed so many facets, so many assets to his game, in the sense that in the first half, where City was sort of probing a little bit, trying to figure themselves out, he was so happy to drop deep, as you can see in this screenshot, and collect the ball. And sometimes that would sort of stem a dribble, sort of like you go on a bit of a mazy run, and obviously wasn't able to break Swansea down as much in that first half. But his range of passing, I think, is something that is so fascinating. And when you speak about him coming into the starting 11, you know, the strongest 11, you're talking about him playing alongside the best finisher, the best striker on the planet right now. And one thing that we haven't necessarily seen as much as we'd have liked to have done with Erling Haaland, not necessarily his fault, more the teammates around him, exposing that space in behind. And I think City have lent into that a little bit more this season. I think there was a goal, the Napoli game, when I think Foden played that ball through to Haaland. Haaland won the free kick. The Napoli player got sent off. A couple of days later, away to Arsenal, the ball in behind at Haaland. You know, City are happy to expose defences by using this. I think Cherki's going to be a great asset to this. But in the second half I think was almost more impressive, because Swansea were in this ultra deep block, basically 10 men inside the penalty area, let alone the sort of 10 men behind the ball. And the way Cherki commanded attention from the opposition players, I thought was mesmerising, because he was opening up spaces that I didn't think were even existing on the football field. And you look at the goal that Marmoush scored, I think that was the perfect example, because that pass, when you're watching it, it doesn't look on. And I think 80%, 90% of footballers don't see that pass. Only a select few. And I want to be careful about doing the sort of the overhype, the glazing, etc., because it was a championship team, and you know, we need to see it in the big Prem matches, the Champions League, before we can really start pinning it down. But I think when you look at what City have struggled with over the years, even when they were winning titles and winning the Champions League in 2023, breaking down low blocks has always been an issue for City. And the only player that I can remember really sort of with the same sort of style and the vision was David Silva. And obviously, Kevin De Bruyne, for me personally, is City's greatest ever player of all time. But it was a different type of vision. De Bruyne was never as intricate. De Bruyne would sort of paint a picture that was just mesmerizing at times. But in terms of like just in and around the box, the little almost basketball style. If you've watched basketball and you see the way that teams try and break down defenses, I feel like Cherki is the football equivalent of that because it is so intricate and left foot, right foot. This boy doesn't have a weak foot. This boy does not have a weak foot, and we really sort of saw that to the best of his ability. I feel like maybe not the best of his ability, but certainly high up against Swansea. I think he was taking corner kicks with both feet. Like, that's mad. I might have got that wrong there, but I'm pretty sure I remember a situation where he was taking corners both on opposite sides. So yeah, absolutely phenomenal from Cherki. Before we continue, make sure to be hitting the subscribe button, leaving a like, leaving a comment, let us know what you think. City Ramble Discord, link in the description as well. But one thing that I think is going under the radar with Rayan Cherki, and heading into the summer when he first joined City, there was so much disingenuous conversation. Remember doing a video on this channel speaking about it actually, about Cherki's attitude, and that's why other clubs weren't taking the plunge. 175 million quid or whatever it was Liverpool spent on Florian Wirtz, and how he was the next guy, he's the next De Bruyne, he's the one that all the managers want, blah blah. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying City didn't want Florian Wirtz, but for the money that was being asked and the rebuild that City had to do, it just wasn't worth it. Which is why they turned to Rayan Cherki, and there was, like I said, so much disingenuous talk about his attitude. But I think we're already seeing just how coachable Rayan Cherki is. And maybe, traditionally speaking, it isn't the same sort of player that you would necessarily put in the Pep Guardiola bracket. But answer me this question. What is a Pep Guardiola player? We hear it all the time. Oh, he's not a Pep player. He's not a Pep player. He's not a Pep player. I think it's fair to say that maybe Cherki, you wouldn't necessarily associate with that. But would you associate Riyad Mahrez with that when he was at Leicester? Would you associate even Erling Haaland, for example? People were saying that about Haaland, that Haaland isn't a Pep player, he isn't involved enough, he isn't, he can't drop deep, he can't get involved in the build-up play, blah, 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 blah. A Pep player, the only definition that you can say a Pep Guardiola player is an elite talent. And you'd say Rayan Cherki is definitely an elite talent. So I feel like while there may be one or two bumps in the road, I do think City fans have to be careful with their expectations, especially this season with Rayan Cherki, in terms of what do you want to see. I feel like he's going to play a lot, but he might not necessarily start a lot, if that makes sense. I remember Bernardo Silva in his first season at City was exactly the same, in the sense that you look at his minutes, there was a lot of minutes being played, but starts in the, especially the bigger matches, Premier League, Champions League, there wasn't a lot of them, so to speak, but he did play a lot. And I think that's going to be the same with Cherki this season, because you're looking at what City need. And whether that's from the start in this League Cup match, looking forward to the next couple of games, Bournemouth, Dortmund, Liverpool, I would personally have him in the starting 11. But I think City fans need to just maybe, if he's not necessarily starting every single week, there isn't a mad reason to panic, because he is still learning, he is still developing. Not every match will be like the Swansea game. So I do think there is maybe, expectations certainly need to be managed. But when you're coming out with performances like that, you can understand completely why the hype is so big. And I'll read out the stats from the Swansea game. I'm sure most people have already seen them now. He played 90 minutes, which obviously coming back from injury, that's a big bonus. He got a goal, he got an assist, he had 5 shots throughout the game, he created 6 chances. 6 chances. This is why I want to see him with Haaland, by the way. The amount of the volume that this boy creates chances are just sensational. XG and XA, so expected goals plus expected assists, was 1.22. Obviously, he finished the game with 2 goal contributions. Only 1 shot on target, so obviously there's always room for improvement. Hit the woodwork. Of course, yeah. That little that finish that obviously came off the post. How clever was that? How inventive is that? This is what Cherki is. Cherki is a maverick. That's what I love about watching him play. I want Man City, by the way, to get a Cherki cam. This is a direct appeal. If you're watching at City, please have a camera that follows Rayan Cherki about the pitch every single second. And if you put that on YouTube, you will get hundreds of thousands of views. It changes. It blows your mind when you just focus on him. I feel like I'm a better football player from just watching him. One thing that I found interesting as well was the fact that he was getting involved in, winning the ball back as well. He completed 1 tackle. He won 4 out of his 10 ground duels. So again, there's still room for improvement. But when you're speaking about succeeding as a Pep player, forgetting about what an actual Pep player is, but when you're talking about what will make you succeed under Pep Guardiola, I think one of the underlying sort of the biggest principles is your off-the-ball work. And I think we have seen 1 or 2 times Pep barking orders, get back in position, blah, blah, blah. But that comes with time. I remember, Jeremy Doku in his first season was getting pelters from Guardiola for that. There was a game at Spurs in the FA Cup when Pep was screaming at him, you could hear it through the TV cameras. And obviously, there are maybe conversations about Doku's offensive ability, but his defensive work has certainly stepped up in the last year or 2. But yeah, heading into the next couple of games, City have got a big run. They've got Bournemouth at home, which we'll have a preview for that match on the channel tomorrow. They've got Dortmund in the Champions League, and they've got Liverpool at home. I think City can win all 3 of those matches. Whether or not they will, I don't know. My expectation or my goal would be sort of going unbeaten. I think City should be eyeing up, not losing any of those games. I think City are more than good enough where they are right now to avoid defeat. But yeah, I don't know. Let's focus on Bournemouth. We speak about this in the preview show, so make sure to check that out tomorrow. But I don't know if Cherki's going to start. If it's up to me, I would have him in there. Just given the makeup of City's team right now, I think he just brings so much to that attack. Putting my Pep sort of thinking cap on, maybe he's still sort of just holding him back a little bit. But I do think I think if it isn't working for City, say for example, whatever reason he doesn't start, as soon as there is even a semblance that City might need to get a goal or another goal, depending on where the game is at, I think at this point he's the first change. And I really do feel like it is, he is creeping into the conversation of being a starter, if not sort of one of the first players off the bench if things are going wrong. Because you look at the other options that City have in attack. Okay, fair enough, Savinho's had a couple of assists in recent weeks. But usually in terms of goal threat, 1 goal in 35 Prem matches? Not good enough. Oscar Bob, again, a lovely talent, nice to watch, but he's not got the output. Obviously, Doku kind of got a goal, but was probably more of an own goal against Swansea. And it's been a couple of weeks since he's sort of really chipped in with the goals and assists. So yeah, I think Cherki is that guy. He can be that guy going forward. In 5 years' time, if you tell me Rayan Cherki's got the keys to Man City's sort of team, he's the guy that it's built around, I would not be surprised in the slightest. Such is the ability of Rayan Cherki. And like I said, to non-City fans, even some City fans, we warned you. We were telling you about this guy. We were telling you how good he's going to be. And he's already delivering. Fingers crossed we get to see it more. Something we haven't mentioned, obviously he's been out with a little bit of an injury. I am just hoping and praying that isn't recurring. He isn't one of those players that has regular niggles and, struggles and comes in and out of the team, because that will obviously disrupt him. That'll be something that is difficult to manage. You need that consistency. And fair enough, you might have a couple of weeks out here and there, but if it becomes a recurring theme, that's going to be a problem. Not terminal by any chances or by any means, but it will still be a little bit of a problem. But yeah, if you can get a full, a proper crack at the whip this between now and Christmas, full fitness, getting starts, getting minutes, if needed, coming off the bench. He's got it. He's got it. He is the X factor. This is what we've been crying out for. So yeah, looking forward to seeing how he develops. Big week for City. Massive week. Eyeing up some big results. Fingers crossed we can get them. Make sure you keep across it by subscribing to the City Ramble. There'll be plenty of content, plenty of discussion. As always, you know where to find us on social media as well. But until next time, it's been a pleasure speaking to you, and we will see you later.